Hi everyone, Dr. Conrad here for week 2. In module 1, we defined consumer behavior and examined its importance to marketers and businesses. So remember, consumer behavior entails all the consumer activities associated with the purchase, use, and disposal of goods and services, including the consumer's emotional, mental, and behavioral responses. Now, this week, we're going to take a look at segmentation and positioning as found in Chapter 2 of the textbook. One of the most important ways in which marketers discover and satisfy consumer needs and wants efficiently is through what we call a divide and conquer process of marketing segmentation and positioning. So market segmentation is this process of dividing this large and diverse mass market into subsets of customers who share common needs, characteristics, or behaviors, and then targeting one or more of those segments with a distinct marketing mix. By identifying groups of highly similar consumers, a marketer can then develop products and services specifically tailored to that group's needs that also closely match the capabilities and resources of the organization. And as a result, it maximizes the chances of profit and success. Segmentation provides many benefits to the company, customers, and society. For the firm or the organization, the business, it includes efficient use of resources and helps avoid direct competition. For customers, it provides specialized needs being met and reduces search costs. And for society as a whole, there's new and better products and an increased standard of living. Marketers conduct a great deal of customer research to identify appropriate bases for market segmentation, select appropriate target markets, and develop effective positioning and marketing mix execution strategies. There are many factors that influence market segmentation, which you can read about more in the textbook. The bases of segmentation include demographic, geographic, psychographic, attributes and benefits, and behavioral. While we will discuss each base of segmentation as a single strategy, remember that firms almost always use multiple methods in combination to divide and group customers. Demographic-based segmentation divides customers along vital population statistics, such as age, gender, income, education, occupation, marital status, family life cycle, and ethnicity. Demographic-based segmentation is the most popular segmentation base because demographic characteristics are visible, relatively easy and inexpensive to measure, and most secondary data, such as the U.S. Census data, are described in terms of demographic characteristics. One example of a company that used demographic-based segmentation is the Dollar Shave Club. When Mike Dubin founded the company in 2011, the mass market was divided by gender, the male segment. Additional demographic characteristics were used to further refine the segment, such as income and family life cycle. In geographic-based segmentation, the market is divided based on physical location of potential customers. An underlying assumption of this market segmentation base is that consumers located in geographic proximity share similar needs and preferences for some products. So for instance, you won't find a shop selling surfboards in where I live here in West Virginia, but you will in states that border the ocean where surfing is popular, such as Hawaii and California. Geodemographic segmentation combines geography and demographic segmentation bases. Sometimes called zip code marketing, this segmentation strategy relies on a common tendency for people who are similar along demographic dimensions that also live in close proximity. So in other words, we tend to live near people who are like us, hence the birds of a feather concept. Nielsen marks a segmentation system called PRISM that incorporates geographic data right down to the neighborhood and household levels, demographic data from the U.S. Census Bureau, and consumption and media usage information. Any household or neighborhood in the United States can be profiled. You can go to their website and conduct a zip code lookup on the location where you live to find the groups in your neighborhood. So I live in a very rural area here in Central West Virginia. The prominent groups in my location include backcountry folks, heartlanders, red, white, and blue, and country casuals. What are the people like where you live? Psychographic-based segmentation centers on consumers' lifestyles, and one of the leading lifestyle segmentation systems is the VALS system. VALS classify adults age 18 years of age and older into 8 distinct customer segments, as shown in the picture. You can take a test on the website for free to discover the primary and secondary segment in which you fall. I am primarily an innovator and secondarily an achiever. What are you? Additionally, marketers will use the term AIO in psychographic-based segmentation, which stands for activities, interests, and opinions. Lifestyle, which is simply how we live, is traditionally defined in terms of a person's activities. So, how you spend your time doing things such as volunteer work or vacationing or working out. It's also interests, what you consider important or valuable in life, such as home, recreation, and family. And finally, opinions, how we feel about the world around us, such as political, religious, and social beliefs. Behavior-based segmentation includes segmenting customers based on consumer preference for a particular product attribute or benefit, usage occasion, user status, rate of product usage, and loyalty status. Important product attributes are useful segmentation tools because they are easy to identify. A product attribute may be price or some other feature included in a product. Benefits may include convenience or ease of use. Product usage segmentation is based on identifying light, medium, or heavy users of a product, or identifying current, potential, or lapsed users. Usage occasion segmentation describes purchasing and consuming products at different times of the day, different times of the year, and at different events or on different occasions. So if you were a baker, you would know that there are different uses for cakes, such as a wedding or a retirement party. So you can see from these two events how the marketing mix would differ: the product, the pricing, the delivery, and of course the marketing communications. Now let's take a quick test. I'm going to show you some logos. Don't try to guess the brand name, but describe the perception you have of the brand after just seeing the logo. Think high quality or low quality, innovative, boring, cheap or expensive, and any other kind of emotions or feelings you have when you see the logo. There's one logo. What does this make you think of? How do you feel when you see that logo? What you've just experienced is positioning. BMW, Starbucks, and Target have worked hard to build the perception you have in your mind about the brand. They are all so successful in positioning that just seeing the logo evokes certain attitudes, images, and emotions in people. So what is positioning? Well, this is a process of communicating with your target market or markets through the use of marketing mix variables to help consumers differentiate the customer's products from others and perceive how that product best satisfies their needs. Sometimes marketers use terms like value proposition to describe a brand, product, or positioning strategy. Like the basis of segmentation, there are several strategies companies use to position their products. The best positioning strategy depends on the characteristics of the product, market segmentation bases used, the competition, and the type of mental associations companies want the customers to form. Some brands, such as Coca-Cola and Jeep, have the distinction of being the first brand to enter and define a market. These brands are referred to as pioneering brands. Research shows that pioneering brands have an advantage in the market for several reasons. First, they are novel and interesting, so consumers pay attention to them. And because they are the leader, they have greater strategic opportunities. If the brand is not the pioneer brand, doesn't mean it still can't position itself as distinct and unique. A follower brand can separate itself from the leader by creating what appears to the customer as a new product category. A brand can position itself opposite of the leader. For example, BMW focused on the ultimate performance to set their brand apart from Mercedes, a brand better known for comfort and luxuriant roominess. Finally, a brand can use being the underdog as an opportunity instead of a threat. Avis Car Rental used this to their advantage with their classic ad campaign, "We Try Harder." If the brand is highly similar to competitors' offerings or difficult to differentiate, the company may still be able to differentiate through price, usage situation, or user. If the brand is marketed differently in a single, easy to communicate and important dimension, a single core attribute or benefit proposition should be used. The benefit should be exclusively associated with the brand and strongly held in the consumer's minds. Price is an alternative attribute. It's easy to understand and communicate, and it is important to most consumers because they consistently use price as a gauge of quality. The assumption that there's a strong relationship between price and quality leads customers to infer that a high price signals high quality. Product usage strategy focuses on when or how a product is purchased and consumed. Promotion that builds a strong association between a particular brand and a particular usage situation leads customers to think of that brand whenever that situation arises. Sometimes it's useful for marketers to identify their brand with the user of the product. When positioning by user, marketers may use either real-life representations or through characters that are archetypes, typical, ideal, or classic examples of the user. If competing brands have an exploitable weakness, repositioning is a possible strategy. One of my favorite repositioning strategies was the Volkswagen Beetle. The reason they repositioned a brand was to enter a new market segmentation, the male demographic. Most people perceived the Volkswagen Beetle as a car for females, especially teenage girls or young women. The only men who purchased the Beetle were typically the fathers of those teenagers. Attempting to enter the new market and increase sales, Volkswagen used multiple parts of the marketing mix for the reposition strategy. Primarily, they modified the product into a sleeker looking vehicle that would appeal to men. And their marketing communications were also created to appeal to the male driver segment. Finally, in order to measure how consumers envision a brand and develop competitive strategies, marketers use perceptual mapping. Perceptual mapping measures the way products are positioned in the minds of consumers and show these perceptions on a graph whose axes are formed by product attributes. As you can see with this example, the attributes used are bubbly versus non-bubbly, sweet versus non-sweet. And Coke, Dr. Pepper, Fresca, Canada Dry, 7-Up, all these different brands are positioned on the map as they fit according to those attributes. So now the marketer can see where their particular product falls in relation to competitors. So that's it for the lesson for week 2. There is a lot more in the textbook for you to read, so please do that. That, of course, is one of our first activities. There is an optional reading that I highly recommend that you look at, Why Behavior Beats Demographics when it comes to segmentation. The link in Brightspace is a little challenging to get to that, so I have provided it to you in a PDF with the announcement. You also have a blog post with the Under Armour case study, and with this blog post, you'll explore Under Armour and discuss different types of segments, making key points about the company's segmentation strategies and recommending one new market segment for the company to explore. And in addition to the blog, you will begin to work on your first milestone, market research and segmentation, which is actually due in Module 3. But you don't want to procrastinate because there's a lot of research that you need to do to do it correctly. And remember, if you have any questions or you need any assistance, don't hesitate to reach out to me. And have a wonderful week and enjoy learning about segmentation and positioning. Bye.